Hello, everyone. I am so excited for today's guest. You are all going to absolutely fall in love with her. I did within the first 5 minutes of just looking at her, to be completely fair, looking at her energy. And I was like, yes, she's gonna be my buddy. So I'm super excited to share with you my next guest. She is the amazing sparkle strategist. I'm going to have her tell you what it is all about. But I have to remind you that this podcast has been dedicated to Women's History Month. And I'm so stoked to have you as part of the lineup. Can we call it that? The lineup of fierce, powerful women that we are dedicating this podcast to this month, because we really want to highlight women in their zone. I want to highlight women in their soul's essence, so that we can, expand the missions that we each and every one of us has. Yes, on a collective aspect, it's all the same, to share and express and nurture through love, but we all do it in our unique way. So I'm so excited. We are dedicating this month to Women's History Month. We have Miss Emma on. She's the sparkle strategist. Girl, tell everybody what that means.
Well, first of all, Jackie, thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to dive into all things sparkle with you today and just everything that I've been doing. So for people who don't know kind of the term sparkle, I kind of use this interchangeably with your inner spirit, like what really sets you apart. It's what makes you unique. It's that essence that we all have. And so part of what I do in the world is help you ignite that sparkle and kind of be who you are in your unique essence in the world at all times. So that's kind of at like a base level, what the sparkle zone is all about here.
Yes, I absolutely love it. You could probably insert magic with you as well and have them both apply perfectly, because that's what I picked up within the first few seconds of meeting you, that you are just magic. And you really, your mission is to support others in tapping in and just seeing it for themselves to begin with, because I feel once we see it, then we become kind of like, I'm intrigued by this magic I hold, this sparkle that I have, and we want to know more about it. And one of the things I love about you is your integrity, and the integrity that you harness that allows people to do that exploration for themselves and in their own way, while we still hold space and harness that, a grounding energy for people. We don't want to take their power away. And you're someone that, oh, you're so tapped into that. And I freaking love it. Talk to me about your mission, specifically with women in business.
Yeah. And I think you're exactly right. I am very tapped into like letting everyone do it their own way, because my way maybe isn't what's best for my clients or the women and men that I work with, right? We've all got to find kind of our own way in the world. And I think for me, especially with women in business, one of the, biggest things within my mission is to help them feel comfortable to make their own way, break the rules, and do it in a way that works for them, right? Like we don't need to live by what society has taught us or maybe what we've learned, but it's really about stepping into what makes you you, and then using that wherever you go and living in a very joyful and curious way.
Absolutely. So, an ideal client for you would be someone who.
An ideal client for me would be someone who is very open. I think that's the first word that comes to mind, is someone who's really open to kind of exploring what's inside them. Because a lot of people, and I think it's funny, like some people think intuition or kind of these more spiritual gifts are just that, they're gifts, but we all have this ability to tap into our intuition or a certain way. It's like let's call it a sixth or seventh, tons of different senses that we all have. Yeah. And so I think when we can really tap into those and, someone is really open to just being curious and exploring what their internal landscape is, I think that's kind of the ideal sweet spot of someone who's just really open, knowing there's something more for them, but they're not really able to access it on their own.
Absolutely. And I think one of your favorite places to do that with women specifically is in business. Why business?
So it's funny. I own my own business and people are always like, why are you in the corporate world and you also own your own business? Like, why are you straddling both of these worlds? And it feels like every time I try to take the leap and just do my own thing with Emma Evolving, there's always this like crazy pull into the corporate world because I feel like I'm almost meant to help people create their own path within corporate because we're not all meant to start our own businesses, right? Like we're not all wanting to kind of be an entrepreneur and be in that space. So I feel a real duty to the women and men, but women in particular in the corporate space to help them thrive because that's not always focused on. And we're not really taught the tools of how to do that.
Absolutely. That's so true. And I want you to go a little bit more in depth with that because I do love, it is so true. We are all here to create our pathway, our purpose, our abundance in the ways that feel best and unique to us. That will shift and change a million times.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. One, not every woman is going to feel the need to be an entrepreneur. And two, every entrepreneur, woman that does want to be an entrepreneur is really going to have some pretty firm boundaries with what corporate, has to offer, right? So you straddling, as you say, walking that line with one foot in corporate and one foot in the entrepreneur world is invaluable because I think a lot of women come to you to try it on. Well, what would it be like to be an entrepreneur? Maybe I should stay as corporate. How do I figure out what's for me? So, talk to me about how you guide them from that space into really helping them hone into a decision that's best for them.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. It's so relevant to figure out like, well, which world do I fit in? Do I fit in both like Emma or, what's my path? And so I think one of the first things I love doing with women in particular is really diving into like, what is it that energizes you, brings you joy, gets you up in the morning, gets you so excited like a little kid? Like, what is it that really gets you in life? And oftentimes people haven't thought of like, oh, this is a superpower. It comes really easily to me. Maybe I could just translate that into the corporate world or maybe into my own business. Like maybe this is something I should be offering, but it's oftentimes you need someone else to kind of point it out and say, hey, have you noticed or kind of discover it for yourself of like, this is what I'm really good at. Why not do it everywhere and get paid?
Absolutely. That is so true. My daughter, she's one of the future guests for this show for this
Okay.
month. She started her own business as a virtual assistant. She's been helping women in the entrepreneurial space really expand their businesses through the things that she can offer. And she said exactly that. She said, Mom, I was on a coaching call today. She's trying to branch out into the coaching world as well.
Yeah.
She's like, I was on a coaching call today and this particular woman just did not see what she had to offer. And every time she gave me something, we were like, okay, cool. Well, let me magnify that for you so you can see just how many, marketing agents there are out there, business strategists out there, budget queens that are out there so that you can see you too can have a piece of this pie. And I love, love, love what you're saying because one of the other amazing, cool that I didn't know when we first met, but as I tuned in a little bit more and checked out your Instagram page, let's be fair, I stalked you. You
Amazing.
are into human design. And I was like, no way. I
Yes.
am a late bloomer. I will tell you this. I'm a late bloomer in the human design department. It is only like fairly months ago that it came to become a thing. And one of the things that I like to do always is tune into the guides first. Whenever something new comes around, healing modality wise, healing mechanism wise, the Healy, and the scanners and all that. I want right away. I have to have the new book. I have to have the new journal. I have to have the new devices. But I've learned that I have to talk to the guides first to just make sure one, is it something that amplifies or adds value for me? Or two, am I going to get this and go, oh, I do that by myself? I don't need a device to show me their aura or their energy. Okay.
Right.
And be disappointed, right?
Yeah.
Human design is one of these things. I've been so intrigued, right? So I go and I get my birth certificate because a part of human design that's very important is having the exact day and time of your birth so that it can map you out accordingly. So I find my birth certificate, get the time on it, I put it in there. Lo and behold, I'm a generator. Of course I am. Yes,
You are.
I have my own life force energy. Yeah. And I'm
Yes.
feeling myself, right? But then I start scrolling down this page and find that my profile is a 3-6,
Mhm.
a martyr, and a role model. And that's when things started going, no, it is true. I do control everything. What the hell? I want you to share a little bit more for our listeners who have no clue what human design is, and for me, who's learning right now how to really embrace more of the hard truth
Yeah,
about who
totally.
they are, how they're designed. I want to know more about that, but I also want to know how you use that
Yes.
because it's not just human design with you. You have a very particular purpose within your sessions with and your client work with people as to how you use it personally and professionally. Tell me
Yes.
more about that.
Yes. Well, first of all, Jackie, I think you hit the nail on the head in kind of saying that you discovered human design and you're feeling like really energized by it. Because I think with human design, it has to find the person. So it sounds like
Mm.
it's found you. You are in the world. And just to give listeners who maybe don't know anything, they're like, what is human design? What does that mean? I kind of
Yeah.
like to frame it as like human design is a tool that will help give you an energetic blueprint of how you're best designed to move through the world and interact with other with like the most ease. So like the optimal operating level for Jackie or whoever is looking at the chart, right? So it's kind of a
Yeah.
combination of astrology and you've got your birth chart. There's other ancient sciences that go into it. And it's this like chart that you get. And I personally, when I discovered it, found it really overwhelming to see like all these little bubbles and colors and lines. And you're like, what is this chart?
Yes. Yeah. Why do I look like a piece of machinery at this moment?
Totally, totally. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why, I'm a man gen. So I'm a manifesting generator, kind of straddle like the life force energy and responding with also that kind of like creative innovation. So those kind of blend my type together. But I think it's really helpful if someone is interested in human design to work with someone who can kind of unpack the chart. And the way that I do it, I do think you're right. I use it very differently than just like, here's all of the information, here's your type. I make it very tangible. So if someone comes to me wanting human design, we make it very actionable in their life, whether it's their work, their own business, the way they interact with people, the way they make decisions. It's very tangible in terms of like, this is what your chart means, and this is how it may come out in your life, which again is different for everyone. Just because you're a generator may mean that you move differently than another generator. It's all very customized to you.
Yes, absolutely. And such is the world
Mhm.
of business,
Yes.
corporate or entrepreneurial, for sure. And who doesn't want to have, I'm going to raise my hand here and totally, toot my own horn. I am that girl that wants to have absolutely all the information. I want to know, I want to have the tools, both, energetically, spiritually, and tangibly
Yeah.
to make the best moves possible. And it's super cool because one of the things that I catch myself doing often is feeling the need to jump right now, feeling the need to have to do it now. Like I'm going to have, it's like FOMO. Yes, that's exactly what it's like. They say I have FOMO. I don't want to miss anything. And when I went into the human design, one of the things that I really was like, oh my gosh, it's right here. And now I have, it gives me permission.
Yes.
My best, and I don't remember what it was particularly called, but it's the
Yep.
wait to respond. I
Yeah.
am I work best, and it's so true when I wait to respond.
Yes.
And this isn't just a profile that you get to help you map out you in the business sense. It's you, period. And I've made 2022 one of these years where I just want to know everything there is to know about me, both ancestral, spiritually, physically, energetically, genetically, all the things. Like I want all the information. Of course, insert human design here because but that's what it is. But I'm really excited
Yeah.
for you and for people that work with you to
Yeah.
gain a little bit more. Again, I feel it very tangible. It is so tangible. It's right there in your face. It's based off of facts, when you're born, what time, and it really gives you a bead on, the things to watch out for. And the you that you've been trying to fight against. There's no need to fight against yourself. And we talk about this in just a healing space as well. When clients come to me and they work one on one with me and we're working on their gifts and really establishing more of the connection with their guides and of source, you're not going to get there by forcing anything
No.
yourself. You know what I mean? Or the connection that you have, the what and what it looks like. I can remember in the beginning of my journey, I wanted to see clairvoyant, period. Clairvoyant, period. I could
Yep.
hear, doesn't matter. Clairvoyant, period. I could feel it all the time. Clairvoyant, period. Like, this is not
Uh,
working for me. You are not working for me. I can't see it. So I don't believe it, even though I could totally hear it, I cognizantly know it, and could
yeah.
feel it all around me. Right. We have this human ego nature thing that says it has to be a certain way, it has to look a certain way. And for those that are like that, I guess I want to kind of give you permission to explore human design with Emma so that you can actually have that tangibility, to say, wow, this makes a lot of eerie, crazy sense. But I
Mhm.
know now how to work with me so that
Yes.
I can show up, so that I'm not hiding any longer, so that I can give myself permission to wait, to
Yeah.
respond, so that it's the most effective thing for me.
Yeah. And Jackie, I think you're exactly right. Human design gives everybody that permission slip to just be you. Like being you actually works better than trying to be someone else or forcing it or following someone else's path. Being you is that kind of like magic that everyone's looking for.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think, one of the aspects of my chart was this, try it and fail. And if it fails, you learned and you pick up and you try it again. And it was very clear in my profile that I cannot follow somebody else's way. It will never work. It'll never work because it's not supposed to work. And
Mhm.
so, one of the things that I will caution people on, and I feel you'll back me up on this, is you do want to have an air of, caution when it comes to reading these things. You want to make sure that you are doing it with someone who is going to be able to explain perhaps more depth or, like you said, perspective, so that
Yeah.
you don't go, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this, lack of luck life where I'm just going to have to try it all and no one's going to be able to help me. And there's the
Yeah.
martyr that comes in. Because, the truth is sometimes it can feel that way on a spiritual journey. If you don't have that psychic support through other psychics that work the gifts, it can be very difficult to not self doubt when it comes to the guidance that you're receiving,
Yes.
and so I think it's one of these really powerful things, but you want to make sure you're doing it in a safe space where you get all the information and you know as much as you possibly can about it so that it doesn't, like you said, become overwhelming,
Yeah.
become disempowering, where all you see is the quote faults instead of what it gives you the opportunity to explore.
Totally. And there's no good and bad, right? There's no, oh, this type is better than this type. It's just what you're
Yeah.
designed to do. And it's funny, like most generators that I work with, their biggest like overwhelm is like, what do you mean I can't initiate? I have to wait and sit back and respond. Does that mean I'm passive? And so if you work with someone who can kind of reframe that and explain it, it actually just means you get to respond to what you like, right? It doesn't have to
Yep.
mean that you're this passive person who just waits for life to pass you by. But if you
Yep.
just kind of looked at your chart or kind of Googled something quickly, you might get the wrong idea and run with that when it's not really what you need to be doing.
And most especially when it comes to business, because I've not yet met an entrepreneur who showed up and said, I'm totally winging this. Like
Yeah.
nobody would do that. I remember in the corporate world, my father owned an HVAC, still does own an HVAC company. And
Yeah.
I was his office manager, HR person. And I can remember conversations where he'd say, this business is going to be yours one day. And I can remember cringing, going, I don't want to be responsible for other people's paychecks. Like, what's the biggest thing? Never mind the fact that I would have to install furnaces or like
Right.
find somebody to talk furnace and shop talk. I'm not that girl, right? But here I am, an entrepreneur. And while I don't necessarily cut paychecks, I'm absolutely working with a lot of other businesses that support me, and so winging it is not an option, folks. And so this is one of these amazing ways to really begin to understand how you operate, because you are the energy that drives the energy of your business. Yes, your business has an energy of its own. And yes, when you take a vacation or aren't feeling your best, it is what will drive and continue to make, the impact, the business energy. But if you're not coming from a stable space, if you're not coming from a grounded space, if you're not coming from a healed space, that energy absolutely it's a detriment to your business. It can tank the business energy, and we don't want that. No entrepreneur starts a business intentionally deciding to end it one day. That's not a thing. And so when you can learn more and whatever resonates with you, any modality, I feel human design is a modality that supports somebody in the exploration and expansion of their own self-development. And so doing these things help you understand you so that you can show up to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
You did not come here with an actual map that said this is where you would go and how you would do it. But you did come here knowing that these would be some spaces, perhaps, or points on your map where you could stop and gain a bit more insight and wisdom. And I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right too. And that everything is just one more tool for your toolkit. Like I know some people
Mhm.
are just a human design coach or just this certain type of coach, but I think it's great to explore everything that resonates with you. If human design isn't it, let's use another tool and just like give you a wider range of options to choose from to better know you.
It's so good. It's so true too. It is definitely something, I feel people are going to find a lot of value and interest in because I don't feel like it's just hit the map or the streets, as
Yeah,
they say. It didn't just come out, but
yeah,
it is starting to gain a lot of popularity as we have found people become more frustrated and anxious with the times that we are hopefully coming out of, but
yeah.
um we're never going to get back to what it was. And that's not how life's supposed to be. That's not how healing works.
Yep.
That's not how expansion works. We've found ourselves in expanded spaces. Now we have to fill those voids that, we want to have love come through, knowledge come through, insight come through. And so I think throughout this pandemic, you had a lot of people questioning the corporate or the entrepreneurial world. And what do I do? A lot of moms feeling like, do I stay home with my kids and quit completely? Do I find another means to support my family? Well, I still create a flexible schedule that fits for myself and my family's needs.
Yes.
And that's the biggest thing I want, women, particularly women, definitely men as well. We're not going to cut you out there, fellas. But I want them to know that it is something you can do based off of not just your purpose, right? If you know your purpose or you don't know your purpose, but the impact you desire to make, the things that you know are missing in the world that you can show up and give value for. The things that you love to be able to do, you can make money doing that.
Yeah.
So for those teetering the corporate and the entrepreneurial world, my design says try it out and see what happens.
Give it a whirl.
But give it a whirl. I mean, I don't think that it's a bad idea by any means. I encourage the entrepreneurial venture anytime I can because I don't think there's anything sweeter um, than someone coming into their own in that way. It's a total boost in the confidence department. It's a total boost in the empowered department.
Yes.
And, the world gets to see you and all your many gifts and talents.
I agree. And I encourage exploration. So if that means doing two things at once, if that means trying entrepreneurial journey for a little bit and then moving back, like these journeys and these choices inform each other. And the other thing too is it's never going to look like what you thought. Like it's never going to be in your head. You thought you were going to be this
No,
type of person. It's going to be totally different, but go with
yeah.
it. If it feels right, just go with it.
Yeah. And how many entrepreneurs start an entrepreneurial venture coming back off of like the corporate world and all the things they did in corporate that they now can do for themselves? Like that I find to be the best thing, but it's super funny because it's like, well, I was doing this in the entrepreneurial world and I just decided to do it for myself. And it's like, oh, duh, like, oh, wow, I can do this.
Totally.
And it's just fun. It's fun to watch others do that exploration and that creativity and see them come into their own when they do. It's the best part. I know for both of us as coaches, it's the best thing to watch someone's light bulb, not just come on, but to become so much brighter by the opportunities that they allow themselves to step into and really take hold of.
Yes, it's that I'm getting that empowered energy, like that feeling
Yeah.
of just like, I've got this. I may not know what's coming next. I may not know the steps, but I know I've got this.
Yeah. Now, because it's Women's History Month,
Yes.
the guides have actually come through a lot with this, the impression of the feminine rising, the feminine energy rising. And I think, of course, it's Women's History Month. Like we are really going to start shining lights in so many different ways on the achievements of that energy because we're being asked as a collective to start really doing healing. When you think of feminine energy, what's like the biggest thing that you want people to know?
The words that are coming up for me just speaking with you and I is like wisdom, grounding, and this like quiet, strong grace, right? We're not really
Yes.
taught in the world to be that energy. We're taught to lean into our more male energy of like doing, achieving, performing, constantly on the go. But there's something so beautiful and powerful about that kind of subtle, quiet, still, wise, knowing energy of that feminine energy.
Yeah. And the more that it rises, the more it shows us,
Ah,
teaches us, helps
yeah.
us feel,
Yes.
what's to come and what our part is in all of that. And I know for myself in, the spaces that I frequent on Facebook groups and things like that, that's really what people are calling for right now. You
Yes.
know, um, there's a contrast to this uncertainty.
Yes.
And the contrast is the ability to really create then what you desire and what you want. And
Yeah.
it's not based off of necessity, like I've got to create abundance to support the family. No, this is more of a focal point on the need to create a heart driven
Yes.
um, desire, to manifest the heart driven desire. And I think that's a lot of where people are starting to really connect again to their truths and their powers, and take it not backwards by any means, but go back to those spaces where we did give ourselves permission, where we
Yes.
didn't, when technology picked up, we picked up in a more doing masculine type of way. And it
Yes.
played a part, it had a very specific role. Now we're starting to really come back to, and I think the pandemic gave us both all a beautiful opportunity to slow down and to see that through slowing down, the world didn't sink, right? Like nothing ended completely. But it really gave us the opportunity to explore. And I feel that is this time right now, definitely March carrying forward. April even feels like rebirth. It feels like regeneration, a cognizant awareness that the old ways, they're just not there, despite how much I want to go back and make it, quote, normal again. This is definitely new territory, but I remember I have the power, and that's what March is going to be, the awareness and the remembrance that you have the power to create for yourself, and to step into opportunities, whether you're the one creating them or others are giving these spaces to you.
Yeah.
Definitely stepping into opportunities for sure where your energy can flow.
Yeah. And I think there's also this element of grace that comes with the more slowing down.
Yes.
There's this
Mhm.
moving through the world with ease and grace. That's a huge affirmation I use in my own life of just being able to be that graceful person, whether it's uncertainty, conflict, like things are going to happen. It's going to feel chaotic, but you can have that inner stillness and grace to react and deal with all of that around you.
Absolutely. And a lot of people are starting to reframe the way they see that, because back in the day, that would have been looked at as the, avoidance or the bypassing or the lazy way of going about things. But
Yeah.
we're finding that there's so much more stableness that comes from it. We can do work that is in a masculine energy, pick it up, take it forward, put it all
Yeah.
together, and have it not make as much of an impact than it could if we would allow ourselves, like you said, to be in that energy of grace, to really take the time to nurture or foster what it is we're really wanting to bring to the surface. And then in doing that, it's like deep seated roots that form. And it's long lasting. It benefits not just ourselves and on an individual scale, but also globally. That impact, that ripple of energy is
Yes.
felt by others. It's
Yes.
so beneficial to move with the ease and the grace. Sometimes that's slow, sometimes that's not. Sometimes that's
Yeah.
like in the whim. I know I've got to do it and I'm going to
Yeah.
act on it. It's the
Totally.
trust and the faith, 100%.
Yeah. And when you encounter those people who you can tell have a deep trust in themselves and they're just like
Mhm.
graceful in the world, it's impactful. It's very palpable when they're in the room. It's like, wow, what's that energy? I want some of that.
Absolutely. And to that point, it also causes others, when you are that being, causes others to feel that they then too can also step
Yes.
more into that energy. It
Yes.
gives an opportunity to trigger and a yay, wow, I want that, or in a nay, oh my God, what is that? She feels very forceful. It triggers And it's something within you that you've got to become aware of. The more that powerful women start showing up and being seen and being heard, the more we open the door and give permission to others to do the same.
And I love seeing people
That,
in their own way. Like whatever power
yes,
means to you, that feels really empowering to me to be like, she's doing it that way. I'm going to do it my way and we're all going to win. Like we can all just do it in our own
absolutely.
way.
And collaborate along the way as well. Collaboration adds to both ends of the empowerment, and that is a very big deal too. And collaboration is also feminine energy. It's totally what's been coming through since the beginning of the year. It's all about collaboration. We are not going to get to the top of the mountain solely focused on ourselves. It's just not going to work. We have got to make sure that we are supporting others along the way, servicing others along the way, and supporting them in their ability to also reach what they feel is the top of their mountain. Because you're right, it is unique. It's empowering in our own way. We all came here to do things in our own, for our own soul's expansion and growth. And it's not going to look the same in quantity or quality. You know what I mean? It's just not. But that doesn't mean that one way is better than another. It means that this soul stepped forth to experience this in this way. And as compassionate beings, we say, right on ya, high five, let me know how I can help you move forward without that comparison, without the need to judge their walk and their path, but just holding that space that again goes back to what you said, ease, flow, and grace.
Yes. So huge to have that joyful life. Huge.
Absolutely. It's so good. It's so good. Yes. Oh, Emma, I'm loving all of this. Are there any final thoughts that you want to share with the viewers?
I think the final thought, this feeling of empowerment keeps coming up for me. I really want to encourage people and empower people to discover and just play with and explore. Like, what is it about yourself that you love? What is it about yourself that feels like your special thing? And I just want you to run with it. Like, paint the canvas. Like, you have this big blank canvas, and I just want you to paint it all the colors that you want.
It's so good. Okay. And I have a question. I
Yeah.
ask every viewer at the end,
Yes.
tell me what it means to own your own sovereignty.
Ooh, the word that's coming up for me is freedom. So really kind of being free from any duality, any kind of, rules or anything like that. I think that's what's coming up for me in terms of just really owning your own. I'm seeing like people in little cocoons, like own your aura and your space and who you are. And it's all yours and you have all your power.
Absolutely. I so love that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast. Thank you for being such an empowered woman in your own right and for, carrying that torch so that other women and gentlemen can find you and be taught, be led, be guided by your light because it's a beautiful one. And I know it's not going to be the first, or I know it's not the first time we've crossed paths soul wise, but I know it won't be the last either. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yay, so good. That wraps up another episode of The Sovereign Soul. Tune in next week. We've got viewers and guests popping in, giving feedback, all the things. You're going to find this everywhere you find podcasts. Make sure that you are checking Emma out. I think that's down there where all your links are going to be. You definitely want to befriend this amazing soul. She's going to be a tool that you can put in your spiritual toolbox and carry with you. All things business, all things personal development. Definitely going to want to make that connection on all the platforms, right? Instagram, Facebook, all the things. It'll be right down there. So make sure you check her out.
Got it.
I'll see you all next week. Bye.